Kev is my friend. Not my brother, not my cousin, not some distant relative who only appears at funerals. To ask if there's an open bar is my friend, which somehow makes it worse, because you choose your friends. The family's stuck with you by blood, but friends, that's voluntary chaos. And Kev is pure, grade A, organically sourced chaos. If the universe had a clearance bin full of bad ideas, Kev would be the guy holding them up to the light saying, "Oh, this one's perfect for me." Now, Kev doesn't spend money like a normal human. He treats money like it's a confused bird that landed in his hand. Nice for a moment, but inevitably flapping away in a panic, never to return. I once watched him get paid for a freelance job, and within 40 minutes, he had somehow bought a fog machine, 3 industrial-sized tubs of hummus, and a DVD box set of a TV series no one has ever heard of called Cop Nuns. And the thing about Kev is, he's not trying to impress anyone. He's not flexing on Instagram or building an aesthetic. He just exists in this perpetual loop of I saw it, I wanted it, and now I have no rent money. You know those squirrels you see in the park who bury acorns and then forget where they put them? That's Kev, except instead of acorns, it's Amazon packages. His flat looks like the lost and found section of a music festival. One time, Kev told me with a straight face that his long-term financial plan was to be in the right place when someone drops a winning lottery ticket. Not buy one, not play the numbers, just happen to be there. Like fate is running a lost property department just for him. I asked him, "Kev, what if that never happens?" And then he said, "Then I'll probably just keep my eyes open." That's it. That's the whole backup plan. And he doesn't think small. Kev will go big on the wrong thing with the confidence of a man who's never had a credit score. I once saw him drop 200 pounds on a limited edition skateboard, even though he doesn't skate. "It's an investment," he said. 3 weeks later, it was being used as a cheese board at his flat warming party. Brie on the trucks, cheddar on the grip tape. Kev called it street dairy. But Kev's magnum opus of financial disasters, the day that truly cemented his status as the patron saint of bad spending, happened on a random Tuesday in April. We were in the pub. He had exactly 43 pounds in his account until payday. You'd think that would trigger survival mode, right? Beans on toast, no unnecessary purchases. Not Kev. Kev announces, "I'm gonna flip my last 40 quid into a fortune." Now, when a normal person says that, they mean investments, crypto, stocks, maybe flipping furniture. When Kev says it, it means he's about to enter a betting shop with the confidence of a Roman emperor and the strategy of a drunk seagull. We walk in, and within minutes, Kev has spread his money across 3 separate disasters: a scratch card, a horse race, and something called mystery meat hot dogs from the shop's vending machine. I ask him why the hot dogs. He says, "Protein is important when you're hustling." Like he's The Rock, except unemployed and sweating mustard. The results? The scratch card wins £1. The horse, named Financial Ruin, you couldn't make this up, trips before the race even starts. The hot dogs? Let's just say I've never seen a man run for a toilet with such a look of betrayal in his eyes. He came back pale, holding the vending machine receipt like it was a war medal. But Kev's the kind of guy who bounces back from disaster by doubling down. 2 days later, I see him again, and he's grinning. "I've fixed my finances," he says. "Got a side hustle now." I ask what it is, and he tells me, completely deadpan, that he started charging people £2 to hold their spot in a queue. This isn't for clubs, by the way. This is for Greg's. He's literally a pastry bouncer. And you know what? It worked. For 3 glorious days, Kev was raking in enough to buy his dinner in actual cash, holding a sausage roll like it was a trophy. Then he got banned from the local Greg's for queue manipulation. His words, not mine. The thing with Kev is, he's not unlucky. He's not cursed. He's just playing a completely different game. While the rest of us are doing chess, Kev's in the corner stacking the pieces into a little tower and then trying to sell it as art on Facebook Marketplace. And the terrifying part? Sometimes it works. Last summer, he somehow got hired to advise a startup. I put advise in quotes because what he actually did was sit in their office, eat their biscuits, and occasionally say, what if we just went viral? They paid him £500 for this, £500 for biscuit-based brainstorming. And yet, despite all of this, the spending, the schemes, the chaos, Kev has a strange kind of peace about him. He doesn't get stressed about bills the way normal people do. I once asked him how he stays so calm when he's skint, and he said, "You can't get blood from a stone, mate, and I am stone." That's either wisdom or early stage financial hypothermia. The thing is, I've learned a lot from watching Kev operate in the wild. Mostly what not to do. Like, don't ever store important documents in a shoebox labeled random crap. Don't buy inflatable furniture just because it's on sale. And definitely don't spend your last £20 on a life-size cardboard cutout of yourself because it'll be good for networking. Yes, Kev did that. Yes, he took it to a wedding. No, he wasn't invited to the wedding. But maybe, and I hate admitting this, there's a method buried deep in his madness. Kev lives like money is an energy drink. You chug it, you get a rush, and then you crash in a McDonald's car park at 3 a.m. wondering where it all went wrong. He doesn't hoard it. He doesn't worship it. He treats it like a prop in the ongoing theater production that is his life. And while the rest of us are carefully building stability, Kev is out there, sprinting across the financial minefield with fireworks in both hands, yelling, "It's fine, I've got a plan." He never has a plan, but you can't deny it's entertaining as hell to watch. Kev's latest idea hit him at 2:47 in the morning, which is, scientifically speaking, the hour when only 3 types of thoughts occur. Pure genius, catastrophic life decisions, or remembering that you said you too to a waiter who told you to enjoy your meal 6 years ago. Kev's was the second type. He texted me, "Mate, I've cracked it. I'm starting a business. All I need is 50 pounds and a wheelbarrow." I should have ignored it. I should have put my phone down, rolled over, and gone back to dreaming about a world where Kev owns nothing more dangerous than a coaster. But no, I replied. Why a wheelbarrow? Big mistake. Kev takes questions as encouragement, like throwing petrol on a chip pan fire. By 9 a.m., Kev's at my door with a wheelbarrow he acquired from somewhere. I didn't ask because plausible deniability is a survival tool with Kev, and a grin that said, "I'm about to accidentally reinvent capitalism." He explained the concept. "It's a mobile convenience store. I just wheel it around the high street, sell stuff people didn't know they needed until they saw it." This was the entire business plan. No product list, no permits, no branding, unless you count him writing Kev's stuff on the wheelbarrow in permanent marker. His launch inventory was equally random. 3 cans of energy drink, a pack of novelty sunglasses shaped like flamingos, a VHS copy of Mrs. Doubtfire, and inexplicably, a single shoe, not a pair, 1 shoe. I asked, "Kev, what's the market for 1 shoe?" Without missing a beat, he said, "People who've lost one." That was the moment I realized Kev is the only man alive who sees gaps in the market where everyone else sees the bin. The first hour was rough. He tried to upsell a man an energy drink by claiming it had anti-regret properties, which might have worked if the man hadn't been a police officer. Then a seagull stole the flamingo sunglasses right out of the wheelbarrow. Kev chased it for 20 minutes before returning, panting and announcing that we were pivoting the business model on luxury experiences. By luxury experiences, Kev meant letting people sit in the wheelbarrow for £1. He called it urban transport. He pushed one bloke 50 meters down the road before realizing wheelbarrows aren't designed for adult humans, and the wheel buckled like a crisp packet under a steamroller. This would have been the end for a normal person. Kev? He saw it as an opportunity to go into stationary retail. He set the broken wheelbarrow up outside the library and started selling whatever he could find in his backpack. A half-used lip balm, a notebook with only 3 blank pages left, and a stress ball shaped like a tomato. People actually bought them. I watched one woman hand him £2 for the tomato stress ball and say, "I've been looking for one of these everywhere." Kev just nodded like he'd orchestrated the whole thing. By mid-afternoon, Kev had made £27 profit, which is £27 more than I thought he'd make without either being arrested or set on fire. He decided to scale up by reinvesting in more stock. This meant going into the pawn shop and buying anything that spoke to him spiritually. He came out with a snorkel, a plastic sword, 5 packets of chewing gum, and a kitchen timer shaped like a cow. I asked what the business angle was, and he said, "Impulse buyers, mate. Same reason you leave chocolate bars by the till." Then came Kev's big break. A stag party rolled past, already 7 pints deep and looking for trouble. They saw Kev's wheelbarrow, took one look at the snorkel and plastic sword, and decided they needed both. Kev sold them for £20 each, plus an extra £5 for delivery, which meant walking them across the road. I swear, in that moment, Kev looked like a Wall Street trader who'd just closed a £1 billion deal. The problem was, Kev doesn't believe in quitting while ahead. Flush with his £72 in cash, he decided to launch Night Kev, a late-night version of the business catering to the post-pub crowd. His big idea? Selling toast. Just toast. Out of the wheelbarrow. I told him, Kev, people don't want toast at 1 a.m. He said, "You'll see." We set up outside the kebab shop. Kev, with a travel toaster plugged into an extension cord running into an alleyway. For 20 glorious minutes, it worked. Drunk people love carbs. Kev was a toast god. The power went out in the kebab shop. The owner came outside, and Kev learned a very quick lesson about unauthorized electricity usage. By sunrise, Kev was banned from 3 businesses, had lost the wheelbarrow wheel completely. It just rolled away, he said, like it was a runaway pet, and had somehow ended up with more items than he started with, including a sombrero, a jar of olives, and a signed photo of someone called Dave the Illusionist. His profit, £14 and 62 pence. Most people would see that as a failure. Kev sees it as a proof of concept. The next day, he told me, this was just the pilot episode. And the worst part? I believe him. Not in the idea, obviously, the idea is insane, but in the fact that Kev will absolutely be back out there pushing some half-broken wheelbarrow full of increasingly questionable stock, and somehow, against all logic, us making something happen. Kev doesn't run businesses. He creates portable, short-lived realities. And if you're unlucky enough to be his mate, you get dragged along for the ride, whether you like it or not. Kev decided one Monday morning that he was done with small-time hustle and was now moving into the big leagues of money-making. I asked him what that meant, and without hesitation, he said, "Stocks." Kev saying stocks was like a pigeon saying, "I'm learning quantum physics." You know you're in for something messy. When Kev gets an idea, he doesn't research it. He just marinates in pure confidence until the fumes make him dizzy. By noon, he was at my flat with a crumpled notepad labeled Kev's Wall Street Plan. Buy low, sell high, and drawn a picture of a yacht. Kev's entry into high finance began exactly how you'd expect, by signing up to a trading app purely because they offered him a free share if he joined before midnight. His logic was flawless in Kevland. If they're giving me one, they'll probably give me more if I ask nicely. His first investment, £3.42, into a company called Something Pharmaceuticals, because the graph was going up at that exact moment. I tried to explain that graphs also go down. Kev said, "Not this one, mate. This one's on a roll." Look, it's like a ski slope in reverse. 5 minutes later, it dipped. Kev stared at the screen like it had just personally betrayed him. "It's fine," he said. "I'll just wait for it to come back." 2 hours later, it had not come back. This was Kev's first lesson in finance. Patience is not his strong suit. He sold the stock at a loss of 87 pence and announced he was pivoting to futures trading because, and I quote, "That sounds like I'm investing in time travel." Now, I have to give him credit. Kev's commitment to an idea is terrifying. He spent the next 3 days speaking entirely in business jargon he'd picked up from YouTube videos. He'd knock on my door and say things like, we're in a bear market, but I'm feeling bullish, which is the sort of thing you can only get away with if you're wearing a suit. Kev, of course, was in a dressing gown. Then came the networking phase. Kev decided all successful investors had mentors, so he went to the nicest hotel lobby in town and just sat there for 6 hours, drinking tap water, waiting for someone in a tie to make eye contact. When a businessman finally asked if he was all right, Kev leaned forward like he was about to leak state secrets and whispered, "Tell me the 3 stocks you'd buy if you were me." And the man left immediately. Kev considered it a soft no. By the end of the week, Kev had dabbled in cryptocurrency. The commodities thing was even stranger. He found a website where you can invest in agricultural shares and decided to diversify by buying a stake in dairy futures. This resulted in Kev spending 3 days telling everyone he owned milk. He even tried to negotiate a discount at the supermarket by claiming he was on the supply side. It didn't work, but the Forex incident, that was peak Kev. He downloaded a trading app, accidentally swapped 10 pounds into Japanese yen, and then got annoyed because he couldn't spend it at Greg's. When I explained he'd have to convert it back, he refused, saying, "No, this is my hedge against inflation." He now has exactly 1,800 yen sitting in his sock drawer. By Friday, Kev announced he was retiring from high finance because the market's not ready for my style. His final balance? Down 47 pounds and 63 pence, plus the yen, plus one novelty cow-themed fridge magnet he got as part of a promotional giveaway from the dairy investment site. Here's the thing. Kev doesn't measure success in profit. He measures it in story equity. And by that metric, he's a billionaire because for the rest of his life, he'll be able to say, I once owned part of a cow, invested in space money, and lost cash in 3 different time zones. And I know, deep down, that this is not the end of Kev's financial adventures. No, Kev is the kind of man who'll one day launch his own currency just so he can be the central bank and this guy in the kebab shop at 3 a.m. Who says, "Sorry mate, we only take Kev coin." It started like all of Kev's most questionable ideas at the pub. We were halfway through a pint when Kev leaned in with that dangerous sparkle in his eye. The one that means you're about to hear a sentence that could either end in world domination or him getting banned from the local library. "Mate," he said in the same tone people use when they've just discovered the cure for a disease, "I figured out my next move. I'm going to be a mogul." He let that hang there, waiting for me to ask, "A mogul of what?" I didn't. I've learned. Asking just gives him runway. But Kev can't resist an audience, even a silent one, so he continued anyway. "Pop-up business, mobile, portable, flexible, a shop, well, that comes to you." I told him that's literally just called a delivery service. But Kev shook his head like I'd missed the point. "No, mate, I'm talking immersive, experiential, personalized commerce. And it's not just selling stuff, it's selling an aura." I should have left right then, but my pint wasn't finished. And besides, watching Kev explain a business plan is like watching a toddler try to set up a tent in a wind tunnel. Chaos, but riveting. By the end of his pitch, which lasted 45 minutes and involved 3 napkin diagrams, 1 coaster's pyramid, and the phrase emotional merchandising, Kev had decided he would create Kev's Life Enhancements, a roving business that sold random but life-changing items out of the boot of his car. His stock? Whatever he could get cheap from clearance bins, lost property auctions, and unclaimed Amazon parcels he bought in bulk online. Every item, Kev explained, will have a story. People don't buy products, they buy narratives. Which is why on launch day, his inventory included a single left shoe, a set of glow-in-the-dark garden gnomes, 3 novelty mugs that said "World's Okayest Boss," and an unopened 2004 desk calendar featuring owls. Kev's marketing strategy was guerrilla style, literally guerrilla. He wore a gorilla mask for the first hour because mystery drives sales. It drove exactly 2 people away from his stall and attracted one child who tried to feed him crisps. But Kev's not easily discouraged. First day is always slow, he said, rearranging his owl calendars so they faced north, because north-facing products sell faster. The thing about Kev is he believes in creating demand by inventing problems. He tried to sell me a mug by claiming it was made from NASA-approved heat retention ceramics, then immediately admitted it was just from the pound shop. He tried to upsell the left shoe as a conversation starter and told an old man that the glow-in-the-dark gnomes were part of a limited edition safety system for night gardening. The man bought 2. On day 2, Kev decided the problem was location. We need footfall, mate. Crowds. Buzz. His answer? Setting up outside a yoga studio. I warned him this was a bad idea. Yoga people don't want owl calendars. They want Himalayan salt lamps and kombucha. Kev disagreed. Everyone needs a gnome, and they just don't know it yet. Sure enough, his first customer that day was a woman who bought a gnome. Kev looked at me like he'd just cracked the stock market again. By the end of week 1, Kev had made £32 profit. And that's after you subtract the £10 fine he got for unauthorized trading in a restricted parking zone. Did he consider this a setback? Of course not. Kev considered it a government recognition of commercial impact. Then came the expansion phase. Kev decided he'd take his pop-up business on the road. We'll do a tour. Festivals, markets, car boot sales. The whole country's our oyster. I asked him if he had a van. No, he said, but I've got enthusiasm and a mate with a roof rack. That's how I found myself one Saturday morning helping Kev bungee a box of assorted inventory, which included an inflatable flamingo, a set of slightly used roller skates, and a copy of a book called How to Start a Business with No Money. The first festival we hit was a disaster. Kev's stall was wedged between a vegan hot dog stand and a woman selling handmade dream catchers, both of whom looked at his world's okayest boss mugs like they were toxic waste. He tried to pivot his pitch midday, yelling things like limited edition, ethically sourced, and this mug will spiritually align your coffee. But the only person who stopped was a man asking if Kev had change for a tenner. And then it happened. Kev's first true viral product. It wasn't the gnomes, it wasn't the owls. It was, I swear I'm not making this up, a pair of sequined oven mitts. He'd picked them up for £1 from a clearance table and slapped a £15 price tag on them. A woman bought them instantly, saying they were perfect for her Eurovision party. Word spread. By the end of the day, Kev had sold out, which is impressive considering he only had the 1 pair to start with. But that didn't stop him from taking pre-orders for oven mitts he absolutely did not have. This is where Kev's empire almost took off. Almost. He spent the next 2 weeks hunting down every glittery, sparkly, borderline tacky oven mitt in a 50-mile radius, convinced he'd cornered the market. He branded them Kev's Looks Mitts and tried to get a local influencer to promote them. The influencer declined. Kev pivoted to guerrilla marketing again, which in this case meant wearing the mitts while handing out leaflets in the town center. But Kev's downfall wasn't supply or demand. It was Kev. Specifically, Kev's inability to distinguish between cash flow and cash to blow. The moment he made £200 profit, he decided it was time to scale up by buying a karaoke machine for customer engagement. This led to one memorable Saturday where Kev tried to sell oven mitts while performing Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer. He sold 0 mitts, but got 3 song requests. The final straw came when Kev tried to branch into services. His idea, oven mitt-themed cooking classes. I told him no one wanted to pay £25 to watch him make beans on toast in sparkly gloves. He insisted, it's about the experience, mate. 4 people signed up. Two left before the beans were even plated. One stayed only because they were too polite to leave. And the last one was a tourist who thought it was street theater. By the time summer ended, Kev officially closed operations for seasonal review. His total net profit over 3 months, £48 and 12 pence, one unpaid parking fine, and somehow a lifetime ban from the yoga studio after he tried to sell them mindful oven mitts. Oh? But here's the thing. I know Kev. I know he's sitting somewhere right now sketching his next empire on the back of a beer mat. And I know, without a doubt, that when he pitches it to me, I'll roll my eyes, finish my pint, and end up helping him anyway. Because in Kev's world, failure isn't failure. It's just brand repositioning. And honestly, that's kind of brilliant. Wow! You stayed until the end of Mentally Chaotic? It's either loyalty or a cry for help. And honestly, we respect both. Do us a solid. Subscribe so you never miss another emotional car crash. Share this episode with that one friend who sends 3-minute voice notes unprovoked. We'll be back next week with more thoughts that should have stayed in drafts. Until then, stay delusional, stay kind of hot, and don't join a cult unless the merch is cute. Bye.